Hello friends, I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? Hope it's fantastic. Man, lunch got me today. Spicy ramen. Gotta love it. What have you been up to? How's things in your world? Okay, so we're gonna get back to some questions because I still have a list of questions that you've been asking. Thank you. I truly appreciate the content. It really makes life so much easier. It's like being a disc jockey. When I do this day after day, I often forget that people want to hear like the same things or hear whatever. I love it when you ask questions, and I love it when you give me suggestions. So thank you for that. So Chris asked, we were talking about GenCon. 2 weeks ago. We were talking about Gen Con recently and how I'm deciding I don't think I'm going this year. I think I'm staying home. I haven't fully solidified that idea yet. There's still a potential that I'll drive up on a Friday and come back Saturday night or something like that. There is a potential that I will go for a day. But so he says, so what are some of your favorite memories from all those years attending Gen Con? So my first Gen Con was 96. Last year was my last Gen Con, and I've gone every year that I was capable or whatever, that there wasn't a pandemic, all that sort of stuff. So I've been to a lot. When I first started going to Gen Con, it was still in Milwaukee. I think it moved to Indianapolis in like 2003. Maybe somebody will correct me if I'm wrong there. But I first went when I was in Milwaukee, and I loved going to Milwaukee. Not necessarily because Milwaukee was a great town for it. In fact, though Indianapolis is larger and has its own problems, the people of Indy seemed super friendly and super happy that we're there. The people of Milwaukee seemed like they were just like they were upset that there was 50,000 people in their city, and that's about as big as Gen Con ever got there. I think it was just it was big, and the convention center there was pretty awesome, but the people just seemed perturbed that we were in their area, right? The thing that I really loved about Milwaukee was this little bar called Major Goolsby's that was across the street from, I don't know if it was the main entrance, maybe it would have been one of the entrances further down, but Major Goolsby's was across the street right there, and they had these cheese sticks. Of course, right? You're in Wisconsin. They had these giant, like, huge cheese sticks that were just phenomenal. I loved those things, so we ate a lot there. One of my coolest memories from that time was so during the 90s into the early 2000s. I don't know when the break was, but there for a while, Wizards of the Coast was a huge part of both Gen Con and Origins. A huge part of those things. And they had a castle, like a freaking you would go a lot of times at back in those days, there were a lot of booths that had tiers. Like you could walk up steps to the top level. The White Wolf booth, the vampire and werewolf RPGs, they had like a vampire lounge on the top of their booth. You would go up there and they'd be playing electronica music and everybody would be in costume or whatever, like velveteen couches and that sort of stuff. But WotC had this giant castle, right? And I think it was left over from TSR. I don't really fully know the details about this castle, but what I do know is that on Breakdown Day, on Sunday, people brought Nerf guns and assaulted the castle. And that was a thing. And that was fantastic. But I think that one of my favorite memories, so the first 2, 3, I don't know how many Gen Cons I went to. I was at that time working for United States Playing Cards. I say working with, like I wasn't employed. I was never, I volunteered for them. I did shows for them. I helped work on game designs with them. I did a whole lot of stuff with them. But we were doing the X-Files card game, and we did not sell product at our booth. We had a pretty big booth. I think we had a 2x2, so it would be it was 20 feet by 20 feet. I think it might have even been 20 by 60. It might have been 6 booths, but it was at least 4 booths. It was a big booth. I think it probably was 6 booths. So 20 by 60, which is a pretty expensive booth. We had like 4 demo stations and then a central area We had product, but we didn't sell anything. That was kind of like the head guy's idea. Like, let's not sell. That's not what we're here for. We're here to promote the product, and that's it. And so when we rolled into Gen Con, or any convention, but Gen Con was the big one, we rolled in with a pallet of product, but we gave that to vendors. We would go to Troll and Toad. We would go to, I don't know who was, there was other retailers there back then. They're not the same ones that we have now, like Cool Stuff and that. We would give them product and be like, will you sell this? When people ask us to purchase, we'll send them to you. And they were like, yes. Like, why would you not? And so we would send people off to go buy their stuff. So we kept product in the booth because when you demoed, we'd hand you some packs. We kept some starter decks we would teach people with and maybe give those away. We would give out some product. But for the most part, we did, well, no, we sold zero things. You had to go to one of the retailers that we worked a deal with. The deal was we gave them free product and they sold it. But we didn't sell. But at the end of the show, whatever we had left over, we gave away. And we gave it away by throwing it into the crowd. And I don't remember if the first year, if there was a crowd, like a crowd. But the second year, there definitely was a group of people like swarmed to the booth and surrounded it. And we were just launching product. And it felt like, I don't know, it felt like I was part of something big. Like, oh, these people love our stuff, and we're just launching free product into the crowd. That for some reason, that's one of my favorite memories. The other one, I've told this story 1,000 times, and I'm positive I've told it here, was the year... Well, that wasn't Gen Con, was it? That was Origins. Skip that then. That's an Origins story. And maybe we'll tell that after Origins this year. I believe I am going to go to Origins, at least for Saturday. I think Em and I might drive up on Friday night and stay. Maybe see a show, go for Saturday, maybe stay Saturday night, and then drive back Sunday morning. That's my current plan. Yeah. So... The interesting part about my brain is when I think of Milwaukee Gen Con, I think mostly about my time with United States Playing Cards. But the truth is, when I came back from the Marine Corps to go to Gen Con, I was there as just me. I wasn't going as a pedestrian. I was going as just a pedestrian, like a normal person, a normal attendee, and playing a lot of RPGs. I got to hang out with friends that I made during my time working in the WotC chat rooms. I don't know if I've ever told you guys that. I used to be a moderator in the Wizards of the Coast online chat room. This was like late 90s. So I had a group of people that I made friends with, and we would met. And those nights, those years, like I would go to Gen Con and just play RPGs for 4 days. Like there was no reason to do it at Gen Con other than we wanted to go to Gen Con. We could have done it anywhere. We could have just got this group of people and met somewhere else. But we all happened to be going, and we would stay and play games until 2 or 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. There was maybe even in those years, I would sleep in the hallway. Like I didn't even bother getting a hotel room. I would literally just find a place to sleep in the hall. That was pretty common for me because I was poor, but I really wanted to go to the conventions. I did that multiple years. But what I was going to say is that time with United States Playing Cards, a lot of the stories that I have from that era of my life blend together. So when I first started thinking about it, I thought about stories of me going to Chicago Comic-Con. I thought about stories of us going to Dragon Con. So they're all kind of blended together and confusing. Okay, one more. I believe this was Gen Con. It might have been Chicago. Actually, no, it was Chicago. I'm going to tell the story anyway. We were leaving, so United States Playing Cards was in Cincinnati. A lot of the people who worked there lived across the border in, I believe it's Lexington, I'm not sure. It's in Kentucky. We were leaving to go, and a long-ass ride. This was like a 8-hour car drive. But we had to stop and pick some kids up in, like, the middle of nowhere cornfield somewhere on the way. So it was going to be like a 10-hour drive. We get, like, a half an hour on the interstate, and the road is closed. Like, closed. We sat on the interstate in park for like 3 or 4 hours. People were like playing football in the median. There was a group that I don't know why they had a grill and like food, but they were started grilling hamburgers and stuff. And that was a fun time. Okay, that's enough. Do you have any fun convention stories? I would love to hear them. Please put them in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is redoubtable. It's an adjective meaning the quality of being formidable opponent. Michael's redoubtable nature made him a successful negotiator and trial attorney. Redoubtable. Redoubtable. That's interesting. I didn't think that was the definition for redoubtable. But it makes sense. I guess I'm not a formidable wordsmith. Not redoubtable.